Q.
Well, it's early. I'm on my way to practice.
Good.
Make it a routine.
I think our players want me to stay here.
Good.
So, quick thoughts on the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Jimmy Butler goes to the Sixers. Celtics have been hit and miss. You know the history there. But Kyrie had a big game last night as they won at New Orleans. A nice win for them. You beat Milwaukee. There's this team from Toronto that has this guy number 2 now.
Stop calling him his name.
Number 2.
Doc, he will not. He refused to address Kawhi because Kawhi left San Antonio.
Well,
he
I understand.
I'm going to invoke the Q word because he quit. He quit on my team last year. Your thoughts? Who looks like will come out of that?
I don't know. The East is tough as well. You know, they're top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Boston's the favorite.
Do you?
But Toronto's right there. They really are. And then Milwaukee. I mean, there's some good teams in the East right now.
You didn't mention Philly.
Well, Philly's there too. You know, now they are.
Okay.
You know, Philly has a closer. Now, you know, everyone said before, can they close? Can they close games? You know, bringing Jimmy, they do now have a closer.
Right.
And that's going to make them tough. That's what Jimmy gives them value, is his ability to score down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You saw Milwaukee. You beat them once.
Yeah, they're
So
good.
What do you think about the Freak? What?
Oh, he's a mess. He's just tough. You know, Durant, LeBron, and him as far as preparing for. I mean, it's funny. And listen, I'm a defensive-minded guy, but there's times in the meetings and you hear us talking, and I'm like, yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that's gonna work because they're that good. And he does it in such a different way. You know, he doesn't do it with the shot. He does it with the attack, and at his size, he's
what did
he's
you
a mess.
try to do to him?
Well, you try to build a wall. I sound like Donald Trump, and I never want to sound like that. That almost made me sick, honestly. But you do. You have to build a wall at the basket. The problem in what Bud has done, which is genius, they put all the shooting around. So while you're building the wall, he's throwing it out because he's a great passer.
Right.
But you have to take that away from him. That's what we tried to do. You know, it's funny. I thought we did a good job, and then I looked at his numbers after the game. He still hurt us. And then you have to keep him off the glass because I think that's the underrated part of his game.
So I'm sure you still follow the Celtics from afar,
Oh,
but you still think they're probably the team to beat. Yet Kyrie came back, Hayward came back, and all of a sudden he's trying to find new chemistry here because it's almost like they have too many good players. You know, how do you find the rotation?
Yeah, I don't know if you can have that,
Yeah.
honestly, but I do think, you know, 2 of those guys didn't play most of the year last year. And then you bring them in. It's just going to take time. It really is. You know, and the 2 guys that they've come back are guys that have the ball a lot, you know, and need the ball. And so it just takes time. But you know, there's going to be, you know, I looked at Miami, you remember with LeBron and that whole group and midseason, and then all of a sudden there's going to come a time where it's going to click and everyone's going to say, here they come.
But when you see Jason Tatum and the success that he had in the playoffs, and you see Terry Rozier, how do you coax them when they've enjoyed the level of success that they've had, that they're going to have to take lesser roles because Kyrie needs the ball?
Well, Tatum's not going to take a lesser role. Like Tatum, it'll be Tatum and Kyrie and Hayward, but more Tatum, Kyrie first. So he's not going to take a lesser role. Everyone else has to understand it's about winning.
Right.
And that's the only tough part for any coach and the young guys.
Right.
You know, and you've been around, like, do they want to win? Do they want to establish their career? And do they get that if they win, that does establish their career? Because I think a lot of them are so number-centric.
Right.
Everyone in all sports are now because numbers are talked about so much.
Right.
But I think if they get that winning gives them more cachet, makes everybody want you a little bit more. I think that's going to be the sell. And if it works, they'll be great. If it doesn't, guys don't want to hear that, then any team will struggle.
So back to your team. How much has Jerry West meant to your franchise?
Oh, he's been great. You know, first of all, just having the logo.
He's the logo.
He's been great. You know, he helps Lawrence in so many ways. I mean, Lawrence and his staff is doing an amazing job. Then when you add Jerry to that mix, it's great. And, you know, listen, when we walk in a room and we talk to guys out there, and it's Jerry, myself, and Steve Ballmer, it's a good threesome. You know, make a good golf game.
But you have a guy in Steve Ballmer, who's the owner of the team, who has very deep pockets, but he seems to be a guy that's willing to stay out of the way. let you and Jerry and Lawrence, you guys do the job.
Yeah.
I'll write the checks if need to be written. How good of a luxury is that to have?
Well, it's great to have him as an owner. Even if the franchise had been run great for all these years, it would be great to have Steve Ballmer as an owner. For the Clippers, it's even more important because of what we've come through.
Right.
And to fall down and fall back on Steve Ballmer, is the greatest stroke of luck maybe in team sports history. But he's involved. Like, he cares. This is his job right now.
Right.
He wants to win. And so he's involved. We talked yesterday on the phone for 45 minutes. He just wants to know. He wants knowledge. That's what he is. He's a knowledge seeker. But he wants to win. And so, he's the wealthiest team owner in sports. And that gives us an advantage. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't just salary-wise. It does because we're willing to go get guys.
Right.
But it really is. That's the advantage to me because you can only pay what you can pay.
Right.
Unfortunately, now we have enough money to pay. But where Steve comes in is when Lawrence and I call him and say, we need this for the airplane. We need this. He's not a blank check, but he's willing if he thinks it's going to help. Right. And I've never been in a situation like that. And that's our advantage. And Steve understands that that's our advantage. So it's good.
So you mentioned earlier you got a whole bunch of cap space heading for next year. Not that you're writing off this year.
No.
It could be gravy. It could be like the calm
Great
before
selling
the storm.
point.
It could be. But without naming names, or how excited are you about those big salary slots that are left?
It's funny. I think that's more of Lawrence and Jerry.
Yeah.
They think about it more. I think about it every once in a while. But the group that I have now, I think all that does is helps us, because we're going to try to bring this group and then add. We're going to be a mess, and we believe that. But this group is proving how good they are. And I think what's going to happen, and I'm hoping, is guys are going to look at this group and how the fun we have, how hard we play, and how serious we are, and say, I want to join them. And I think that's important.
Sounds like early Golden State to me, right?
Whatever
Share the
you
ball,
want to,
have fun.
I'm all
right?
for it.
Yeah.
But that is right. You hear players like, man, they share the ball.
Yeah.
Man, they play together.
Doc, I always wanted to know this, and you were a player in this league, and you played with some greats, and now you're a coach. How difficult is it to coach a LeBron or Kevin Durant? Because they're great, and people say, well, it's easy, but they're very demanding.
They should be. I've always said that. You know why they're demanding? Because they probably have worked more than everyone else. Their expectations are probably higher than everyone else. And I've never had a problem with guys like that. Right. I've always said the stars are the easiest guys to coach because they're the most driven.
Right.
They also have the biggest egos.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. I've always thought that's a good thing because their egos will not allow them to play bad.
Right.
So every night they're going to show up. I've always thought
the guys that think they're good.
Exactly. I've always thought it's the middle guys. They don't work as hard, but they want more. And I think you want those guys on your team. There's some that don't work. And they're out there in all sports. But for the most part, you want the driven guy because that's the guy that can make everyone else work hard.
There you
LeBron,
go.
the best player in the NBA? Sure.
Oh, boy.
You heard what he said, Skip? He said, sure.
Doc,
Well, he has to.
thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Pleasure to have
Thank you, Doc.
Pleasure to have
Appreciate it, guys.
Anytime you want to swing by before practice.